You know, as a guy who loves horror and writes it, I get asked a lot, what's the scariest movie or scariest movie moment that I have ever seen? And I think Edward and Bella's baby might be the most terrifying thing I've ever seen put the screen.
Oh man.
So, Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 2, this is the official end of the saga. It's the epic conclusion, it's the fitting conclusion. This movie is crazy. It's so quick, whereas Part 1 was so slow. Everything just like happens like all the actors feel like they're on speed, the script feels like it's on speed, the direction feels like it's on speed as well. And so basically the entire plot of the film is the like vampire counselor, whoever the hell they are upset and afraid of Bella and Edward's baby because she's half human and half vampire, but they think that she is an immortal newborn. And in the Twilight mythology, whenever a child becomes a vampire, they become really powerful and unpredictable and really uncontrollable. So they typically eliminate that sort of thing. And the Vampire Council think that Edward and Bella's kid is this sort of is in that sort of situation. So the Cullens are kind of gathering up their forces and their friends, and we meet all sorts of new vampires that have awesome powers, and we're supposed to remember all their names and all their abilities, and there's just so many of them. Really, the only one that stuck out to me that I'm going to remember is the guy that can control elements. He can like manipulate ice, fire, water, air. He's basically like Aang the Avatar, and he's really cool, but it's just like there's nothing about him that's interesting outside of his abilities, and he's like, yeah, I'll help you. And so interestingly enough, there's all these new characters introduced in the last entry, and I've never seen a movie series do that before. Usually, you know, Mockingjay Part 2 or Deathly Hallows Part 2, it's all about the central characters and the side characters that we've gotten to know over several movies. But there's so many new characters in Breaking Dawn Part 2, it feels a little lost. The background characters are the best characters. They're the most interesting, and they're the ones that I was the most invested in. And it's really the Collins and Bella's dad that I actually kind of gave a shit about. But Bella's dad is the guy I sympathize with the most. He's the reason that I kind of don't like Bella as a character because she hurts him more than anybody else, really. She's with this guy that has hurt her a lot early on in their relationship, and as a father, you can tell that it really eats at him, and she just kind of abandons him a lot and just expects everything to be fine. It just feels really irresponsible, and I felt sorry for him because, I mean, he's just this normal dude that it just seems like the cool dad. And speaking of Bella's dad, he has a great scene with Jacob. Every Twilight movie has had that laugh out loud moment for me. And this one happens really early on in the film. It's when Jacob kind of realizes that Bella abandoning her father is messed up, and he decides to do something about it. And so Jacob approaches Bella's father and was like, I need you to keep an open mind. And he starts like taking his clothes off. And I'm like, of course he's taking his clothes off, but he's doing it in front of a grown man. And it was just so goofy. So he takes his clothes off and does the whole werewolf transformation thing and reveals himself both figuratively and literally to Bella's dad, and it's just out of nowhere. It's so awkward. And what's worse is it's not even the most awkward part of the movie. It turns out Jacob has imprinted onto Bella and Edward's kid. Now, he doesn't have control over this. It's not like he did it on purpose. But it's so creepy how he's kind of like, for the rest of the film, following her around and being very protective. And it doesn't come off as sweet as the filmmakers or even Stephanie Meyer wanted it to. And I don't know how it's handled in the books. But it was very, very strange. as many awkward moments as this series has, this is probably the most awkward thing, because it's like he's watching over this child, and she's like essentially an 8-year-old, and he's a grown man, and so inevitably we get to this big battle where the Collins forces faces off with the higher class vampires, and man, they really went out on that action scene. There's a big long battle, which I was kind of surprised by. It's really silly, but damn is entertaining. You got people ripping each other's heads off, ripping arms off, and you got vampires with various abilities and werewolves, and power just being thrown around. What I don't get is the lead antagonist vampire, who is just like this cartoon character. Like, he literally giggles like a little girl at some point. His biggest fear is that the humans will find out about them. You expect me to believe that the vampires are afraid of human beings when you've got guys that can throw around fire, or there's a vampire who can literally attack people with their mind? You expect me to believe that they're afraid of us? I just didn't buy that. It just kind of seemed like he wanted to fight just for the sake of fighting. Speaking of the fight has a resolution that I just said, what the fuck? It was like the filmmakers wanted to put all their chips in a basket, but immediately take it out. Like, they made so many ballsy decisions, so many character deaths, to the point where I was just like, wow, they're really going for it. And then the thing happens, and I mean, screw it. It's been over 6 years. I'm just gonna tell you. So Alice, who can predict the most likely outcome of the future, shows her vision to the lead antagonist vampire. It turns out this entire battle that we were watching was that vision. This thing that we thought was actually happening wasn't happening. She was just showing him this because eventually he dies during the battle, and she's like, if you do what I think you're going to do, this is how it's going to end. He makes a different decision, but his reasoning for making the different decision goes against everything that has been established about him so far. But it's so insane. I can't recall a movie or a book that had put everything in and has decided to absolutely go for it but immediately take it back. It was just so bonkers, and it's absolutely fitting for this series, because this series is just, it's really out there. It's dumb. It's silly. Twilight Saga definitely had a negative effect on the vampire mythology for years. We didn't start having cool vampires again until recently. I would recommend Twilight to people who like stuff like Grey's Anatomy, who like soapy, goofy stuff that they know is bad. They know that their relationships are poisonous, but it's kind of like a train wreck. You just can't look away. And occasionally you'll get compelling side characters. It's entertaining in that way. And if you legitimately like it, and if you legitimately like Edward and Bella's relationship and anything else about the movies or the books, more power to you. That's great. I am happy for you. But for me, the movie series is just, it's a mess. I felt all the emotions you can feel. I felt confused. I felt bored. I felt angry. I laughed. I cried for all the wrong reasons. But I mean, I'm glad that I watched it at a later age and that I didn't watch it while I was a teenager, because I wouldn't have given it a chance at all. I would just straight up, I know I absolutely would have hated this in high school. I would have hated every second of it. But it's been fun kind of exploring something different. And thanks again to my friend Christine DeFries for challenging me, I guess. It's been an experience for sure. So Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 2. Have you seen it? What did you think of the series as a whole? Let me know whether you hated it or not. What did you think of the books? Are you a fan? Who's your favorite character? Personally, mine's Alice. I think Alice is a really cool character. Stephanie Meyer, if you make a spin off of that, I would probably actually read that. But comment below. Let me know. Thanks as always for watching. Bye.